Welcome, everybody, to Survive in Advance on the Grueling Truth Sports Network. I'm your co-host for Survive in Advance, Mike Goodpaster. Right now, I'd like to welcome in my co-host, 1981 national champion, a member of the Indiana Basketball Hall of Fame, Steve Risley. How you doing, Steve?
Morning, guys, girls, everybody. Good to be on the show today. Live from Florida, huh? We're talking baseball today.
Yeah.
Fun topic.
Let's go ahead and introduce our guest. First up from the APC agency. She is live in Florida at New York Yankees training camp. Help us welcome to the show, Sarah Uhran. How you doing, Sarah?
I'm good. How are you guys doing?
All right. I didn't screw your name up, so I'm doing good.
Also, yeah, that, and you didn't mention, and you have yet to mention, so I'll just go and do it for you. You have yet to mention Bobby Knight, and we've been on the phone for 30 seconds.
That's not me that mentions Bobby Knight. And please.
Good job,
Sorry,
Sarah.
I thought you would give Steve the intro with Bobby Knight, but you didn't.
No, he just.
IU won last night. I have no beef with IU at this point in time. They won, so I'm happy.
Yeah, wait till Saturday afternoon, then things could change. Next up.
They will.
You know him, you love him, you can't live without him. From the Sheridan Report, he is a member of the Sheridan Family Hall of Fame. Bobby Sheridan, how you doing, Bobby?
I'm doing great, Mike, and I'm excited to talk to a baseball person. Now you're getting into my realm.
All right. So what is your take on Bryce Harper's situation, Bobby?
Well, my take on it is from afar. I mean, I'm not an inside person, and Sarah may have some information there that I don't hear, but one thing I did hear, or I know, is that he's supposed to sign with the Phillies, and I don't know if that's still the hot deal, but his agent was down, or excuse me, the owner of the Phillies was in Vegas meeting with his people personally since Sunday, I believe, and here we are Wednesday, so I thought that was on the precipitous of him signing. Is that still what kind of the rumor mill is, Sarah?
I think, to me, the most interesting part of the Bryce Harper situation is just at what point does he get frustrated now that Nolan's just got a big deal signed, right?
Yeah, 10 years, what was it, 300 or 325? I forget.
8 years? But it's still,
it's
like it makes you wonder.
8 years, $260 million, I thought, what I read.
Is that all?
Yeah, and it just makes you wonder.
That's over $30 million a year.
Is Bryce getting antsy with the fact that he's sitting on the sidelines while these other guys are signing contracts? I mean, or is he just going to hold out until he gets that 10 years?
Yeah, and when you look at this, what other teams are at play here? I would think that the Dodgers could certainly get this job done.
I mean, I keep hearing that the Padres are still thinking about shelling out that kind of money.
Whew.
So they'd have Machado and Harper.
Okay, so what is our take on Machado and Harper as players anyways? Because when I look at these guys, Bobby, I don't think they're guys that really put you over the top. I think there's questions that have to be raised about both of them.
Well, I mean, there are questions about both of them, and they're probably questions in different areas. But the main thing, the big thing is, Machado's his 10-year, $30 million thing he just signed. That's actually a steal for the Padres in terms of over the course of the contract. Because what's different about this deal is that these guys are still young. They're kind of in their prime right now. They're not ending prime, nothing like So you're going to get a lot of good years, and that deal, when you're looking at the fourth and fifth year, is actually going to look pretty good if these guys, stay on the top of their field, which I think they're going to. And in terms of Machado, I think his stature as a ball player is not questioned, but maybe his. I think some teams were scared off, with his, kind of his deal, what he's about. I don't know if his Dodger time there he spent really helped him or not, But for Harper, I think that he's looking at more money than Machado just got. And I just think there's a lot of things to look at. And is he getting antsy? I think so, but he'll be there. First day of the season,
yeah,
I guarantee you.
But I think we talked about it last. I think we were talking about it last week too. Is a lot of the stuff they're looking for is, they're looking for the contract, and they're definitely looking for the length of contract, because that's the priority at this point. But the most important thing for these guys too is the marketing. They want to go somewhere where they can be the big shot, they can be the one on the billboards. They don't want to have to fight for that attention. So, quite honestly, I look at it from a marketing perspective. I think Bryce's best option is to go to Philadelphia, where you're close to the city without competing for New York media and New York marketing deals necessarily, but you still get some of them, and you're the face of it. You're the face of the organization. That's the same thing, with Machado down in San Diego, although, it's San Diego. I mean, you don't get as much attention as you would in L.A., but, he's going to be the only big name in San Diego, and it's the only team in San Diego.
Right, and that was my question, Sarah. Is it kind of when you poised it there for like Harper to go to San Diego? They have no professional football anymore, although they all migrate to Anaheim or wherever the stadium is up in StubHub Field, wherever it's at, which is only about a 40-minute drive north. But still, most of their fan base is still the San Diego Charger fan base that comes up to watch the Chargers play. And there's no basketball there. I mean, is it where I like the comment you made about him being he and Machado being the prominent player in San Diego, which generally is pretty much a suburb of Los Angeles. So, he could get a lot of play on the West Coast. Is that a better deal for him to go somewhere where what you said about where he can get all of the glory for the city and get, whatever marketing or merchandising is available in San Diego and into the LA market? Is that a better deal for him? Somebody where Philly was compacted?
My personal opinion is that it will be a challenge for him in San Diego. I think it's a challenge for anybody, in my opinion, going to San Diego because of where it is on the map, essentially, and the fact that LA is a fair weather fan market. I mean, Dodger fans love to say that they're diehard Dodger fans, but that is a lie, and we all know that. Like, they're fans when they win. Like, Yankee fans are diehard fans.
Right.
But the thing for Philadelphia with the Phillies is that you have a great opportunity to go to a city where the Sixers are playing unbelievable basketball, and the fans are. I mean, you can't get tickets to Sixers games at this point, right? Like, it is tougher than it's ever been to get them, and so you get that going on, and then you add him to the baseball mix. Like, there's a great opportunity in Philadelphia. Now, I mean, as a person from North Jersey, with New York is a home city, it's a second. What?
You know why it's hard to get a Sixers ticket? Because there's a pretty good guess that Kendall Kardashian is going to show up at one of the games.
Who's that?
That's probably why it's so hard to get, because Kendall Kardashian is going to show up with Ben Simmons at one of the games, and everybody wants to be there when she shows up at one of the games.
Yeah.
Well, in L.A. it is. You know that. You've been out here.
Well, that's a fact, but I literally been trying to get tickets to the Phillies Sixers game for a client this weekend, and it's, all of my guys in Philly are like, hardest game, and they're playing Golden State, but it is an interesting dynamic to see that change with Philadelphia.
I think even if the Dodgers offered him a little bit less money, he would go to L.A. because everything I hear and everything I see tells me that the only reason he hasn't signed a Philadelphia contract yet is because I think he wants to be a Dodger or a Cub. And those are two places that are more marketable than Philadelphia, Sarah, outside of that city even. So I think that's why.
Do you want to go to LA and do you want to go to LA and compete with LeBron for marketing?
I don't think
really
there's any.
You want to do?
I don't think there's any competition because the Lakers are not even a viable team right now.
Yeah, I'm not sure how marketable LeBron is out here right now.
Yeah, the way this is going, by the time opening day comes around, LeBron and them are going to be about 11 seed and only 8 go to the playoffs, and people are just going to be bitching about it.
Touche, Mike. Well played.
And the other thing is this. If you've got an 8 or 10-year contract in L.A., if you're as good as you think you are, 5 years from now, LeBron's going to be long forgotten probably. If not, he's going to be 39, and he's going to be limping around with a cane trying to make the 8th seed of the playoffs to beat Steph Curry. So if it's a 10-year contract, long range, if he turns out to be the stud that he thinks he is, you can't get a bigger market than L.A. And with Philadelphia, if the Phillies suck, nobody's coming. The Sixers, when they won 9 games a few years ago, averaged like less than 10,000 people a game. And you could talk about diehards, but with the Dodgers, you're going to a team that's been to the last 2 World Series. They're going to be good. If they're good, people show up. And there's not too many places where if your team sucks that people show up anyways in an 81 games that are played at home. So I think that L.A. would be where I would want to go if I was Bryce Harper. Because L.A. is, if USC is playing great, there's 90,000 people at the Coliseum. If the Lakers are great, it's sold out. If the Dodgers are great, it's sold out. It's how it is most places. If you're getting your ass kicked, you're not marketable anyway.
Right. It doesn't matter where you are at the end of the day if that's the case.
Yeah. But if you're going to win, you win in L.A., you make a lot more money. I would think. I don't know. You would know that better than I do, but it just seems to me.
No, I mean, it definitely is, but you have a lot more competition there, right? Like, that's my point is, I mean, we talked about this last week, right? Where we talked about, LA coming to a city like Denver and owning a city like Denver. Well, it was a better opportunity for him to own a city like that, just like it is, with, I'm just using like Indianapolis and stuff like that. Some of these like smaller cities, it's easier to own and dominate them than it is to go into LA. Like, as Bryce Harper, you're gonna get recognized. People are gonna want to do deals with you and all that kind of stuff. But you're competing with not only the other athletes in LA, but you're competing with the celebrities too.
Yeah, but isn't that what makes it better? There's more eyes there. In San Diego, if Manny Machado is on a team that all of a sudden wins 70 games, everybody's going to forget about him. If he's in L.A., everybody's still going to – they're not going to forget about him. They're going to bitch about his contract, but at least they'll know he exists.
Yeah, I think it can go either way. I think it depends on what you want. I think it's up to each individual and kind of what you make of the situation. Like it's I'm one of those, I believe that if you go to a smaller market and own that market, like there's greater opportunity. But to your point, yes, there is always that, the opportunities exist by nature in a city like LA versus a city like Philadelphia.
So Steve, what would be your opinion?
Sarah?
Oh, go ahead, Bobby, and then we'll get to Steve.
I just had a question on this topic because I know we'll probably get off it in a second. I wanted to ask this question. Don't you think at this point in the ball game, with the owner being personally in Vegas and he's still there as far as we know. I know he was there as of Tuesday. That was yesterday. So I think at this point it's not about Dodgers, Padres. I think we've honed in on it, the Phillies. And now it's just putting together all the fine points of the contract, opt-out clauses, the length, everything. There's a lot to talk about here. And I think I think the Phillies are kind of a slam dunk at this point. I mean, that's what I'm hearing.
That would be my guess.
Yeah.
That would be my guess.
That would be my guess at this point.
Unless LA offers something.
I also do think there's probably
but that's
some
not
thought
their
process
style.
behind. No, I think it's going to be. I mean, I would guess it's going to be Philadelphia, but I think in thought processes they were probably waiting. I think a lot of people knew that this Arenado deal was going to get done before the season started, and I think that in typical Boris fashion, just waiting for the spotlight.
Dominoes are falling, and then
And it's I mean, as much as Manny Machado was the talk for a while, like Bryce Harper is what everybody's actually waiting to see more than anything.
He was the guy. Yeah.
Right, Steve.
Yeah, Machado San Diego is interesting because of the Latin ball player proximity down there in San Diego. That's going to play really well. I think he made a good choice, and I think that deal is going to wind up being a great one for the Padres, and their farm system is just loaded right now, and I know that's what really enticed him too. He agreed to play third base because of Tatis, right? So right there, that's a pretty big step he's taken, I believe as well. I think that's going to work out really well for him.
All right, Steve, any opinion on where you think he'll end up? Do you think Washington's a slam dunk, or do you think there's a chance somebody could come in at the last minute?
You mean
Steve,
Philadelphia?
No,
Philly.
Yeah, whatever, Philadelphia.
Philly. Okay, yeah.
Philadelphia.
No. Here, I don't know baseball like the three of you know baseball. It's a sport that I love to watch in the playoffs and things. But to me, from what I know of Bryce Harper, he seems kind of like a flamboyant kind of guy. Is that kind of straight up? Is that kind of he's kind of out there? He's not what I would call really a blue collar baseball player.
No, he's more what I think, and you guys could correct me if you disagree, but I think he's more style over substance.
Right, exactly. And I think LA is a better fit for him, for his lifestyle, for what he wants to do. But in the end, like what Sarah says, money talks and bullshit walks. So if Philly's going to offer him the money, I think he's going to play in Philly, and then he can go buy a house in L.A. and live out here in the summer. But I think
how's he going to live out there in the summer, Steve? Baseball season's during the summer.
I live out here in the winter. I'm sorry. Well, our winter is our winter is your summer.
Whatever.
Okay, so I'm sorry. I apologize.
I just busted your balls because you called me on the New York thing. But go ahead.
Yeah, well, I apologize for that too. I just didn't want to, but I mean, our winter is your summer, so we get deseasonalized out here in Los Angeles, right, Bobby? You kind of just it's just kind of the same all year round. A little more sticky in the summer, but not, But anyway, I think that his lifestyle would be better suited probably for him for what I perceive of Bryce Harper in L.A. But if they're going to offer him the contract, you got to take the money while you can, bank it, and then come and live out here for the rest of his life and be a celebrity like a lot of, retired basketball players and celebrities live out here. They all date Kardashians. They all go on their own way, and
what
they have their
with
fun.
You and the Kardashians?
He is in love with the
Kardashians. I'm infatuated
Are
with the
you
Kardashians. Are you
to
kidding
talk
me?
about them?
Yes, he is.
What?
If we did a weekly Keeping Up with the Kardashians show, he would be in heaven.
I'm the expert. I've never missed an episode in my life.
Lord help us.
I've never watched an
episode. They don't date baseball players. They don't date baseball players. They don't date
baseball. No, they don't date NBA basketball players. I get it. So I'm stretching into there a little bit. They date athletes. So anyway, but I would think he's, sounds like if he's in Philly right now, he's trying to cut a deal there. He's going to play there. I don't know. How good are the Phillies? I mean, I don't even, like I said, I don't know baseball enough.
I think
are they a team that's viable to be a World Series team?
They brought in new management last year, right? Like last year was Kepler's first year, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
And I think he's a young manager that's coming in, and I think they have potential, and they do have the money to spend. I mean, a lot of people have been talking about whether or not they're holding out big dollars for when Mike Trout becomes available to bring him home to Philadelphia, but I think that
good call there. Yeah.
From what I've heard is they have the money to spend it on Bryce now and then bring in Mike Trout later.
But then you've got a team in L.A. You've got a team in L.A. that's been to 2 World Series now back to back, lost them both, granted, but been to 2. They're a World Series caliber team right now. At what point does Bryce Harper say, "Okay, I got enough money banked, and I'm still going to get a damn good contract, and I want a ring"?
Yeah,
trust me, I know all about having a ring.
Oh God, we all know.
He does.
We were saying it last week. It's all about money. With this contract, it's all about length of contract and the dollars. Like most importantly is the length of contract of knowing how long he's going to get paid for. That's what they're fixating on. I mean, that's why the Machado deal is a big deal. That's why the Arenado deal is a big deal. I mean, 8 years for Arenado is a great thing for him at 28. So, you're from everything you read, it's Bryce is looking for 10 years and won't settle for anything but that 10-year guaranteed.
Okay, then I've got multiple questions here too. When do you stop playing for money I believe LeBron came out here for one reason. Looking at how he's playing, and I watched the Lakers play the Grizzlies the other night, and it was pathetic. LeBron didn't even look like he gave a damn being in the game. And I'm thinking, okay, he's out here. He's in Los Angeles. His kids are going to a nice private school. He's producing TV shows, movies, and things like that. He's in Hollywood now. That was his mission to come out here, not so much to win a national or an NBA championship, but his mission, it was a lifestyle decision for him to leave Cleveland and come here. I mean, I think he gave up a chance to ever win another championship again because I don't think the Lakers will do it in his time span. So for a guy like Bryce Harper, pardon?
Yes, they will.
Pardon? Okay, well, and I'm not going to bet against you because you're the odds maker. But like for Bryce Harper to come out here, this is a chance for him to get a ring. The Dodgers are basically the best team in the NL. Still, are they still not? Even without Machado?
I don't think they are.
They're not.
And I think when you look at the Phillies, what I see the Phillies is this. They've done some things that were really remarkable through the major changes they've had. I think the big problem with the Phillies last year, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, was plate discipline and contact skills. And by adding Real Muto, Kutch, and Segura, I think they've significantly cut down on the strikeouts over last season. And when you look at them, 1 through 8, their lineup is full of extremely tough outs. I just think it's a shame that they didn't have another position for Santana, because then I think 1 through 8, you're as good as anybody in baseball, at least with having extremely tough outs there. So by cutting down the strikeouts, I think they're going to score more runs. I think the question here, correct me if I'm wrong, Bobby or Sarah, is just all going to come down to the pitching. And I think this team, even without Bryce Harper, would be a tough team to beat.
I mean, it always comes down to pitching, right? Like if you don't have good pitchers, you can hit all the balls out of the stadium that you want. But if your pitcher can't control a game, all the hits don't necessarily matter.
Yeah, but even with the greatest pitching in the world, you have to score runs. So that part's taken care of.
But a pitcher, what?
My point is this: with that part taken care of, I think if the pitching is just average, this team's going to contend.
Yeah, this team's going to contend, but and you're right about the points you made about the Phillies, and they're really analytically inclined organization, and that's why they hired Kapler. That's one of the reasons, because he was real big on that, and he got kind of rammed a little bit for that early last year, but it's settled down. That's a great division, and we could do a whole talk on that division, because there's four.
I was going to say that's a whole different conversations on can you play sports based on statistics.
I think we can lead this in Sarah's direction really well right now, her being in Yankee Town, because you talked about the pitching right there, and that you've got to be able to get the outs, and pitching has really turned into not just starting pitching. It's turned into, there's 2 different ball games. You play the first 5 innings, and you play the next 4, and nobody has positioned themselves better than your guy down in New York in that bullpen. Sarah, talk about the Yankee bullpen and what's going on there. That's unbelievable, huh?
I mean, it's systematic, right? I mean, they've always been that way. I think that, they've been that way for years, where they have their opening pitcher, then they have their, 6th, 7th inning, and then they have their closer. And you can't, I mean, as far as an organization goes, they have the best closing pitcher in baseball, right? So
well, they do. They've got 4 closers. They're dominate at the end of games. And that's how they're trying to beat the Red Sox.
That's where you win.
That's where you win. That's where you win, and it's where you also win in the postseason. So the Yankees have done some great things, positioning themselves to be able to win not only in the regular season and get there, which they've already proven they could do that with this group, but now they're taking the next step, and they've beefed up that bullpen even more. And I had a question for you in terms of your day-to-day routines down there in Florida. How has your routine changed being in spring training versus the rest of the year in terms of baseball?
Oh, it's just, it's like hectic. This time of year is hectic for all the guys. I mean, I go from Tampa to Clearwater to out to Arizona, and it's just a lot of shuffle at this point. And you just, the way that they all operate is the same. It's patience, right? It's because one of the biggest things that we handle is the relocation of guys. Like once spring training's over, is we put them in their housing for the season, and it's, you're looking at, Philadelphia and Detroit and New York and Denver and all these different places. And it's like everything is calm. And then it's all of a sudden like, hey, you're going to be there in 4 days. And, it's like everything becomes instantaneous. And, but that's kind of the way a lot of, I've had baseball players compare everyday life to playing baseball. And it's staying patient, being calm, and waiting for the right pitch, right? And that's just like, that's everything in life is how they operate.
That's a metaphor. Baseball is a metaphor for life in a lot of ways, isn't it?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Watch Bull Durham. Just go watch Bull Durham. You'll get a picture of it.
Yeah, so basically it's boring, and then something dramatic happens, and then it goes back to being boring again. Yeah.
Right, exactly.
And then the playoffs happen.
I got a couple questions if I can ask here for Bobby and for Sarah and for Mike. Is a 10-year contract anymore? Is that really a smart move for a team to make? I mean, I look back at the A-Rod deal, $250 million, 10 years. Padres, the Yankees absorbed it. I think the Yankees are still paying that guy.
Hey, so I just found this out
money.
the other day, but Ken Griffey Jr. is still making $3 million a year from the Reds.
Yeah. To Bobby and to Sarah, how smart is it for a team to even take on a 10-year contract with I don't know how old Bryce Harper is. Is he in his 30s yet, or is he still in his 20s?
He's 20s.
No,
he's young.
No.
Okay, and I don't know. Okay, I don't know that, but why would anybody sign anybody to a 10-year deal?
They shouldn't.
As an owner of a baseball team, I'm like, I'm not committing to you for 10 years because you can't commit to me 10 years of excellence.
Exactly.
And A-Rod proved that.
Yeah, but the thing you've got now is this. I think this is why
you don't. Poster child.
I think this is why you don't have as many teams. Be quiet, Steve. You're always interrupting people. But I think that's why you're seeing not as many teams getting in these races for these players, too, anymore, Bobby.
Right.
Right.
I think that Boris set up this big thing, and I think you mentioned, the A-Rod situation, but I think that Boris set up this situation. He did it with A-Rod, and he's doing it again, where he just assumed, quite honestly, that the Yankees would bite. And when the Yankees don't bite, then you have a harder time because they have the big money. So then you're like, it's harder to pitch that deal to a lot of other teams. Not that they don't have the money, but, the Yankees are notorious for spending that kind of money. And so they're assuming that everybody is going to do that.
And Mike, am I not right? And again, I know you're the historian, and I truly think you are a genius in this, but didn't Babe Ruth sign a new contract, a one-year contract every year?
Actually...
I think at the end of his career, he finally got a multi-year contract, didn't he?
Yeah, he got multi-year contracts. He never got a 10-year contract. But the thing is this.
No, but even Babe Ruth had to go in every year and renegotiate his contract.
The thing that's mind-blowing to me is this. Babe Ruth put up numbers averaging 45 home runs, batting .330, .340 with 170 RBIs. Bryce Harper is getting this money, or he will get this money, with a batting average of .249, an on-base percentage of under .400, and he does throw in 34 home runs and 100 RBIs, but he's not worth that kind of money. I think whatever team does it is stupid. I don't care because he's not a big-time player, I don't think. I mean, I've watched him in the playoffs, and he didn't look as good as he did in the regular season. Let's just put it that way.
And, Mike, it's no fun when you and I agree on something, because when arguing is what you and I do best, but I freaking agree with you on that one, buddy.
Yeah,
big time.
I mean, when you look at these numbers, Sarah, 34 home runs, 100 RBIs, that's awesome. But I don't want to pay a guy this much money if last year he batted .249.
I mean, I think there are way better hitters out there in baseball, and so that is my personal opinion. So I think I think Bryce has sold himself very well, and his agents have sold himself very well, and they've put him in a great position to command that. But is it worth it? Is a totally subjective question.
Bobby, is he worth it?
I think Steve hit it on the head. Is anybody worth it? Because all these contracts have not worked out. But these guys are different because of their age, and I think, I would say, he is worth it because of their age and because of their ability to produce over the length of the contract. I think he is worth it. I think Machado is worth it, but it's got to be the right organization, and that's why we're down to only a few teams. And the fact that the Phillies would miss out on both is astonishing. There's no way the Phillies are going to sign Harper because there was talk of them being the team that got both. Now San Diego, a little bit of talk.
Now I got more questions.
I gotta say, I disagree. I think that there are certain players who are worth certain things, and I think there are other players who are not, who are not. I would say that I would argue and I'm completely and totally biased being in Colorado and being a huge baseball fan, I think Nolan's contract is totally worth it. I think Colorado did the right thing by paying him to keep him there, to keep the fans happy, number one, because he is fan favorite. People love him. People love him and Charlie Blackmon together, and it was an important thing for them to do. Is he worth it? Absolutely. Can Nolan play for
Absolutely,
the Angels?
Sarah.
Absolutely. That guy,
Absolutely,
he works his ass off. He deserves that contract, and there isn't anybody in Colorado that is going to say to you he's not worth it. And there's probably nobody in baseball. I mean, I know Jim Duquette on MLB.com had him as the number 4 player in the league, which is probably, I mean, maybe he deserves to be a little higher, quite honestly. Maybe he deserves to be in the top 1, 2, 3. But a big contract is not going to stop Nolan from playing the way that Nolan plays.
Yeah.
And that's what makes him worth it.
Right.
And the problem with Harper is when you look at him, 2015, he had his best season. I mean, 42 home runs, 100 and some RBIs, or no, 99 RBIs, batted .330. After that, 2016, he hits .243. Then he hits .319. Then he hits .249. I don't want to commit to 10 years to a guy who really, in 7 years of his career, he's batted above .275 exactly twice. He is.
But here's my biggest criticism. My biggest criticism of him, quite honestly, is that he's a hitter that pitchers can figure out. Like I said, there are so many better hitters in baseball than him, and that are more talented because of what they see. Personally, I think because of what they see when the ball is coming at them and what they see at different pitchers. Pitchers figured Bryce out. That is part of the excuse for his low batting average, everybody said, and probably the shift too that they put on him. But if you're figuring all that stuff out and you can adjust to that, does that make you a great player?
Well, I can tell you this. You talk about the shift. I'm just going to bring this up real quick because last night.
Let me go after you, Mike.
It's like
go after you.
1 a.m, and I'm watching on YouTube a 1978 Monday Night Baseball game between the Phillies and the Mets. And Mike Schmidt comes up to bat. They'd played the Reds in Cincinnati the day before. And the Reds tried to put on a shift where the farthest guy to the left there was Pete Rose playing shortstop. So you know what Mike Schmidt did? He bunted for 3 straight base hits. And then the Reds shifted back, and then he hits a double to right center field and a home run to right field. And Bryce Harper is not going to bunt down the third base line or whatever line if there's a shift like that because he's selfish. And I don't want to pay that kind of much money or that much money to somebody whose first intention or first inclination is not to try to get the win. Steve?
Yeah, no, 2 things here. One is, last year the Dodgers paid the money for Machado to have him for 1 year. And, he couldn't put him over the hump. So one player, I don't know. But here's my deal on Bryce Harper. And Mike, I agree with everything you said about Bryce Harper. Going to Philly, I'll tell you what, those are smart sports fans in Philly. He starts batting .240 and not producing, and they're paying that kind of money, he's going to get booed. Trust me, they're going to eat him alive. He comes out to L.A. and does that crap out here, kind of like what Machado did out here. And people are going to, whatever. We'll go to the beach. We'll go surfing. It's like, I don't know. I don't know that if it's a smart move. I'm not sure Bryce Harper has the wherewithal to go to Philadelphia and withstand the fan base there because Philly is a sports town. And obviously, Sarah, you're finding that out, trying to get tickets to a basketball game, how much of a sports town that is. He starts pulling that crap out in Philadelphia, and they're going to just go – they're going to run his ass right out of town before his 10 years even gets halfway over. And he'll be looking for a new contract. Yeah, they're brutal.
They're brutal. Yeah, they're second rate to New York, but they try.
Right.
They try. They're all trying to get.
But he comes out to L.A. It's like it's a glide out here. I mean, well, we got to the World Series. We're all happy. Rams get to the NFL Super Bowl. We don't win, but life goes on. The 405 is still jammed. The 101 there's a wreck on it. The Oscars are happening on Sunday, and life goes on in L.A. And he gets lost. His failures get lost in the shuffle.
Hey, Steve,
his failures in Philadelphia.
Real quick for the L.A. thing, Steve, just to put this into focus a little bit. Did you see the amount of fans that welcomed the Rams home after they won the Super Bowl or lost the Super Bowl?
Was there anybody?
There was 3 people standing on a street corner, and I don't think they were prostitutes, but they had Ram stuff on, waving.
Where did they land at? Did they land at LAX or John Wayne or Bob Hope?
No idea. I just know that there was a picture there with 3 people on it. All right, real quick.
Yeah.
We got to let Sarah go because she's got work to do in spring training. So, Sarah, I want to thank you for coming on. Hopefully, we can get you back next week, and maybe we can start breaking down each division.
Yeah, let's do it. I'm in. We can also talk about the statistic thing and how annoying it is.
I hate Saber or whatever the hell it is. But all right. Thanks a lot, Sarah.
Well, thanks, guys. Have fun.
All right.
Sarah, have fun. I'll talk to you later, Sarah. I'll give you a call later on today if I can.
Sounds good.
All right.
Bye-bye.
See you later, Sarah.
Bye,
guys. Bobby, what I want to go to right now before we get to your top picks, top plays of the day, I want to talk a little bit more baseball. What I want to bring up is the pitch clock. And it looks to me like the pitch clock thing, they're going to push back a couple more years.
Push back.
Do you like the pitch clock or not like the pitch clock?
Oh, well, I mean, the whole pace of play thing is the big topic right now with rule changes. And, that doesn't really bother me. To me, that's a very small, minor thing that's going to come in. That the pitchers it's like the serve. There's a serve clock in the tennis now. And there never used to be. And after a while, the guys just get used to, okay, they're on a clock, and then you don't even notice the clock because they get their rhythm into, beating the clock. So it's not something that we're going to be looking up like in basketball. Oh, we're at the end of the shot clock. No, the guys they have a feel for when they got to deliver the next pitch, and it won't even be an issue. It's just going to take the guys, that never deliver the ball. It's just going to get those guys and straighten them out to where, they can't pull that crap anymore.
Right, Steve.
And there's a few of those guys out there.
All right, Steve.
In terms of the pitch clock, to me, it's just another smack that television controls sports now. It's all done for timing and to get the games in a viable amount of time so they can move on to the next game.
I think it's also Steve. Not that I don't completely disagree with you. But I also think if you want to get a crowd there, especially a younger crowd, it's not even about TV. You got to speed the game up because I can tell you this. The last time me and my sons went to a Reds game was 2 years ago, and it was like horrifyingly long. We left in the fifth inning, and the game had already been played for 2 hours, and we didn't want to sit there for another 2 hours. Now, the Reds sucked at that point, so that probably made it suck too.
Yeah.
But I think you got to take into effect if you've got an 8 o'clock start or a 7 o'clock start even, and the game takes 3.5, 4 hours.
Yeah.
I mean, you got a lot of kids that, they might have to leave mid-game just because they got to go home and go to bed. I think if you want to do this right, take an Eastern Standard Time game, start it at 6:05. Even if the game's in 3 hours, it's over by 9:05. You got time to get your kid home. You put them to bed. I think that there's no way to speed baseball up because I don't think baseball should be messed with at all, Bobby or Steve. I think it should be the way it's always been. And if people don't want to watch it, they don't want to watch it. And I think speeding the game up by 5 minutes ain't going to make a damn bit of difference.
Right. And can I address that when you're done?
Go ahead.
I'm going to tell you, and Bobby, you're a professional baseball player. So you have a different view of the game, that just like I have a different view of basketball than you guys do. You have a different view of baseball. I get that. I appreciate that, Mike. You're in football, but to me, I've been to Yankee Stadium, I've been to Wrigley Field, I've been to Riverfront, and probably and I've been to Busch Stadium too. I've seen the Cardinals play one time. So those are the only four, and I'm not, and I've been to Victory Field in Indianapolis, which has the Indians, which is one of the more successful minor league franchises in the country. To me, the most romantic place to go watch sports is a baseball game. Because you sit there and you expect it to kind of go slow. And you kind of just unwind and relax and enjoy the moment. You get your hot dog, you get your beer, hey, bada, swing, ducks
You
on
don't
the
do
pond.
that. You don't say that when you're at a game, really, do you, Steve?
Oh, God, yes, I do, every time.
Because I can tell you this.
Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
I coached my kids'
So I
League
watch
All-Star
Ferris
team,
Bueller, and I love
and
it.
I coached my kids.
But to me,
I coach my kids' select baseball team. I won't even allow my players to do it. I think it's Bush.
Well, I say I'm not a baseball fan. I'm a romantic. I love, to me, the only sport I really probably would enjoy watching live is baseball because you go relax. It's kind of slow. You don't have to be so intense. You get there and you look at the stand. They put the flash at the guy's batting average, and then it's all of a sudden it's Mudsock. What's the guy's name in Field of Dreams where he puts his name up? Bobby,
Moonlight
what's his
Graham?
name when they put it up? Moonlight Graham. Yeah, they put it up. Did you see that? And you've got that whole persona and probably the most romantic sports movies ever made are baseball movies.
Yeah, the great one was the one
it.
with Kevin Costner, the Perfect Game thing. What was the movie
called?
Yeah.
What was it called?
I know
what you're talking about.
Come on, Bobby. What was it called? You're our baseball expert.
What was it called, Bobby? With Kelly
you're
Preston.
Talking movie. I don't know.
Movie. It was. What was it? God, he was pitching for the Tigers.
Yeah.
It was his last game. He was throwing against the Yankees.
Every inning. Yeah.
What? Yeah. And he flashed back on everything. It was romantic. And baseball is romantic. And romantic should be slow and tempered. You shouldn't rush it. You got to have foreplay.
Yeah, but can I address this?
What was that movie called? Dadgum, I'm going to look it up right now. It's driving me freaking crazy.
I've got the answer to this. Mike, you're right.
For love of the game.
Both of you guys.
For the love of the game. There you go. For the love of the game. Right, exactly. For the love of the game. Romanticism.
But let me tell you, it's the last five. It's the first 5 innings versus the last 4. Okay, the first 5 breeze along. The starters go at each other. There's not any changes. There's not pinch hitting and relievers and all that. All that shit starts in the 6th, 7th inning, and it doesn't stop until the game's over. And the last 4 innings take 2.5 hours, and the first 5 take 1 hour. And a pitch clock.
In my opinion,
like 5 minutes. But that's
in my opinion, baseball is a chess game. It's a chess game.
It is.
It's a slow-moving game.
Yeah, but the thing is this: they've taken the analytics and they have made it such a chess game.
I'm nuts with it.
Yeah, the thing that kills it is, I got to have my righty face my lefty face my left, whatever the hell it is, and
that's playing your pawn left or right.
No, it is. That's stupid. That gets old.
Okay.
I want to watch a baseball game. I don't want to watch pitchers that get changed 3 times in an inning to face 3 different batters.
Right.
Because when I grew up, I grew up watching Sparky Anderson, guys like that. He was called Dr. Hook, and it was nowhere near this. And he played chess.
No, nowhere near.
Yeah.
And Mike, when I was coming up, it was 9 pitchers, all right, and then it went to 10. Now it's 12 and 13.
Yeah.
I mean, it gives these managers 3 and 4 more moves that they can use every game. Now we've got openers that only pitch an inning to
How
start
about this, Bobby? Real quick, the other thing that we have seen is we've seen a lot more pitchers get injured, and it's because of this. Because people don't realize there was a guy from Lawrenceburg, Indiana, that pitched for the Reds in the mid '60s. Damn, his name escapes me right now, but I interviewed Tommy John and we talked about him, but he actually pitched in a Major League Baseball All-Star game, but his career only lasted 2 or 3 years. And the reason that happened is because they'd get him up to warm up almost every game, and then if he didn't pitch,
absolutely,
he's already thrown 30 pitches. So you're bringing these guys in, and they may only fit the 1 pitcher or 1 batter, but they're wasting basically 2 innings in a bullpen getting ready to go into a game to throw 5 pitches. It is blowing out pitchers' arms at an alarmingly high rate.
But isn't that? I mean, again, you guys are bigger baseball people than I am. But for me, to watch a baseball game for me is just a Joe fan, kind of like I'll pick up a game, but it's like a spy movie. It's like who's going to make the next move, who's going to do what, and Mike, who was the pitcher? Clay. Who was the pitcher? Clay for the Hawk. Who was the pitcher for the Reds?
Clay Carroll.
Clay Carroll. God, I remember every time Clay Carroll came in. And I remember watching that team, and whenever Clay Carroll came in, it's like he came in for Seaver to finish out Seaver, and it's like the Hawk is in, and then you had Al Robosky, you
had the Braves, the Mad Hungarian.
The Mad Hungarian.
Yes.
Al Robosky was, he's a legend. And I don't know much about baseball. I know about these guys, and but I think baseball is the coolest sport in the world to watch at the stadium, more so than football, and more so than basketball. If I was going to go pay money, and Bobby and I are talking about going to a Dodgers game, and we hope Bobby flies you out here first class in a private jet, which apparently Bobby can afford to do. So and we'll all go to a Dodgers game, but to sit out there and to sit in the summer air and watch the romanticism of a baseball game going and the slow draw it takes, I would think that's the only sport really truly that I'm missing, that I never had a chance to watch, Major League Baseball in Indianapolis because we didn't have a team. Although we did have the Indians, but that's the one I would sit there all night and say, I don't care how long this game goes on. I'm just enjoying the night.
Well, I can tell you this.
Sports happening in front of me, and we're going.
I think it is a baseball game. If your favorite team is in the World Series or National League Championship Series, is more intense than a game where your team is in the AFC Championship game or the Super Bowl. Because I can tell you this. I went to probably half the games the Reds played in 1990. I loved that team. They played hard. You had the nasty boys. There was a lot of personalities on that team. And I went to the National League Championship Series in 90. I went to the AFC Championship game in 1988 when the Bengals beat the Bills. And those 6 games, or 4 games that were, 3 games that were played at Riverfront Stadium were more intense than anything I've ever seen, because on each pitch, something could have happened. And that's what makes baseball great. And the problem I have with is this. When you start switching pitchers so much, I think it kills some of the drama.
I don't know. I don't, you guys I would defer to you guys on that because you're the baseball aficionados. Well, to me, it's just like it's a chess move. I move my pawn.
Well, to me, it's like the IU game last night. The IU game at the end of the game when Wisconsin uses like 3 timeouts in 10 seconds. It just kind of kills it. I just want to watch the game. And let's face it. If you got to call 3 timeouts to get your team to do what they want, well, then maybe you should practice better. But, Bobby, any opinion?
Agreed, yeah.
Well, and I think you've got back in the old days, the starting pitchers would go 7-8 innings because they would go up to 120, 130 pitches. And now you've got what's caused the problem is you got the starters. Now you have this 100 pitch count limit, which is kind of the popular pitch count to let a guy go to, right, is roughly 100. And they'll let him extend past that in certain cases and da-da-da-da. But the bottom line is that's getting these guys out of there earlier because the hitters all watch more pitches now because of the analytics, right? So they're getting the starter out of there. It becomes a bullpen game in the 5th, 6th inning. The bullpen game is what brings out the chess pieces. But now they're not brought out in the 9th. They're brought out in the 5th and 6th. So this is the direction we've moved. So it's going to be hard to move away from this now. And what started this whole thing was this 100-pitch deal. And there's no evidence to suggest that 100 pitches is what a pitcher – I've talked about this a lot, before I got involved with you guys. This is a big thing in baseball. Starters don't go any distance anymore, and they're not allowed to. And it's really caused some problems. Then you're right. Then the strategy is great, but that used to be the 8th and 9th inning. Now it's the 5th and 6th because the starter's out of there, and you don't want your relievers facing a lot of hitters that they're not going to be analytically successful against. So you carry 12 or 13 pitchers, and you start that shuffling out to the mound in the 5th inning. It slows the game to a halt. Now you throw in video replay.
But Bobby, doesn't engineering kind of come into every sport now? I mean, you look at every sport, and I would call what you're describing is basically engineering. You call it analytics, I'll call it engineering because I'm more of a racing aficionado, and I say, we take the cars out of the driver's hands and put it more into the engineer's hands because we develop better cars. They develop better methodology, and, the doctors now are saying, this is the stress load or limit you can put on a pitcher, and let's don't exceed that if you want to pay the pitcher that 10-year contract you just signed him to. Because I'm reading right now, and I'm going to ask you this, Kershaw's not throwing. He's still injured. I was going to ask your opinion on that down the road. But does engineering now come in more to play into all sports?
But there's no evidence that the 100 pitches, is the magical number to hold.
How about
a guy
this,
to.
Bobby? I think this. What I remember. Go ahead.
I was going to say you hit it on the head. What hurts pitchers more is getting up day after day after day after day versus the one outing where they go 110 or 112 or whatever, and then they don't pitch for 4 or 5, 6 days. That the getting up every day in the grind. But see, that's these relievers, these managers, they'll run these guys into the ground for 3 years, then on to the next group of
how about
of
this too, Bobby? The one thing I do know, my son was a pitcher, and the thing I know is the season goes longer. You let them pitch longer and longer, and their arm gets stronger. Now, if you're lifting weights,
absolutely, that was the Atlanta Braves.
Yeah, and if you lift weights and you bench press 180 pounds every time, and you do that all year, you're no stronger than what you were. So when you come out, I remember it used to be opening day, the pitch count would be 100, even 20 years ago, if you remember. And then the pitch count would be 110,
right.
Then it'll be 120, then it'll be 130, and
Correct.
These guys are building up arm strength. I think what happens is
Correct.
You're not building the proper arm strength because you're limiting yourself, and you never get your arm strength to where it should be. And I think you really see that because in the offseason, they're probably limiting themselves also. And how many pitchers are already having arm problems?
Well, my answer to that, Mike, is my answer. Before Bobby, let me say one thing. My answer to that, Mike, is again, I'm naive, is that there's such an investment in these pitchers now for these long-term contracts. They don't want to stress that arm in any way, shape, or
they
form.
Destroy the arm. They destroy the arm by not strengthening the arm.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Am I wrong there, Bobby?
Again,
I don't know.
No, you're not wrong, Mike. And it's back. That's a way of doing business regarding the starting pitching that is the 70s and 60s, 70s, 80s, and into the 90s. But our new era, when these guys are 10, 12, 14 years old, they're used to pitch counts. It drives me nuts when a starting pitcher gets yanked out of a ball game because he's at 102 pitches and he's poured his heart out there for 5-6 innings.
Yeah, and he's got a 2-hit shutout.
He's got 2-hit shutout. He's coming out of the ball game, and the old timers, they punch the manager in the face if he's going to take him out of the game. Now these guys just accept it because they know that's just what it is.
Well, and
but,
the other thing,
there's no evidence that helps an arm maintain over 10 years versus letting the guy go and get stronger. Those guys, Steve Carlton never had a problem year after year
Bob
after
Gibson,
year. No
Bob
one
Gibson
never had a problem.
But did Steve Carlton ever have a 10-year contract?
Huh?
But no, he probably never had a 10-year contract. But
so they didn't
these
invest.
guys
so
are panicking.
The ownership's invested 10 years. They don't want that arm wearing out. They're like, I'm going to protect that arm. That arm is only going to give me 5 or 6. I can. I've got relievers now. I have 13 pitchers on my staff now. That's why they put the 13 pitchers on the staff because they're like, we're going to protect Carlton's arm and not let him pitch anymore because I've got a $10 million investment in him, like Kershaw right now.
Hey, but this is the thing. You bring up Steve Carlton, and if you remember back, Bobby.
Well, I didn't bring him
Steve,
up. I mean,
Steve Carlton. When you look at him, Steve Carlton, you could hit in the first 2 or 3 innings, and as he went from the 4th inning on, he just got stronger. And better. So
right.
You would have ruined his career doing that. And the other thing I think is this. I think that you make your pitchers less effective by doing this. And this is one of the reasons why you see ERAs inflated to what they were 20, 25 years ago, where nowadays a guy with an ERA of 4 can be considered a good pitcher. In 1980, that was considered a guy that's about to go to the minor leagues. And where I'm getting at with is this. When you're letting a guy pitch longer, he has to figure out how to pitch. These guys are they're going in with their best stuff, they're throwing it, and then they're going home. And I think this.
Another great point. So impressed with you today. It's another great point because these guys, starting pitchers used to know going in, I got to get this guy out 3 and 4 times.
Yeah.
So first time through the order, I'm going to spot my fastball.
Yeah.
Next time through the order, I'm going to introduce a pitch to get him out. And like the famous thing was Greg Maddux, he used to save his best weapon for a particular hitter for the 3rd and 4th time he faces him when the game's on the line. He's never going to show him that pitch in the first at bat. Well, now these guys come in and they open the kitchen sink right out of the gate because they're only going to pitch 5 innings. They're only going to face the guy twice. So you know what I'm saying? It's a whole new ball game, and so I'm really impressed with a couple of your points today. You're a good baseball guy, much more than you profess yourself to be. I'll tell you that.
Well, I like to play stupid sometimes. Me and Risley both play stupid a lot. Let's see. Don't we, Steve?
Well, I mean, It's Steve being a basketball guy, and at the level he played it, there's no way he could have the baseball knowledge. He's just 24/7.
Fuck you, Bobby. Fuck you and the horse you rode in on. God damn you.
No, Steve,
sorry, I'm sorry.
Come on
I
now.
said that, but fuck you, Bobby.
Steve,
Bobby, move on. Don't get me on you. Just move on. Move on.
You totally misconstrued how I meant. That was a compliment.
Move on.
Steve, when you're a gym rat,
move on.
And you're playing for Bobby Knight year-round.
Move on.
Oh my God, Steve! I could go to every NBA
move
gym
on.
right now, and none of those guys in the locker room would know a damn thing about baseball. None of them.
Bobby,
and
move on. Bobby, you're digging a hole. You're digging a hole.
No, I'm not.
Move on.
Hey,
you're creating a hole,
guys. All right. Actually, I enjoyed the baseball talk today, and I used to be.
Oh, I thought it was really good. I thought Sarah did a great job. I mean, I learned a lot today.
I can tell you this. My son was a really good pitcher, and I learned everything I could about that because I don't know a lot about a lot of things, but there are some things that I need to know stuff about, and I know that. So, all right, Bobby.
You know what I learned? You know what I learned today? I learned today that I realized how romantic of a game baseball is, and I started thinking about and listening to the conversation about everything going on, and I started thinking about my involvement with baseball. You know, I tried to play baseball a couple of years. You know, I had too much going on with basketball and football, and just really didn't have the time to focus on it. I actually got asked to try out for the baseball team in our high school team, and I damn near broke a batter's arm one time because I could throw hard, but I didn't know where the hell it was going to end up.
Same case with me, by the way.
Yeah, I damn near broke his arm. I walked up. I dropped my mitt and walked on the field.
Well, you know what I did?
I'm not doing this.
I was a pretty good baseball player, but I had this big dude, and I think I was like 14 or so, who threw this hard-ass fastball, and he hit me right in the kidneys. And I walked to first base with tears in my eyes. I scored because there was a triple next. We won the game, and I walked out of the dugout. And I looked at my dad, and I said, unless I can go out there with this bat after him or pick the ball up and throw it back at him, I ain't doing this shit no more.
I got put on this baseball team one time, and I was like the scrub. I mean, I literally and our leadoff hitter was late to the game, and they said, Risley, you're going to have to bat first. And I was shitting my pants. It was a high end. You know, I just got stuck on a team somehow because I was an athlete. I couldn't play baseball, and you're gonna have to lead off hit. And at the last minute before I stepped, into the bat and warm up box before the game started, the guy showed up, and I'm like, oh my God, thank you so much. UAW 11111 was my team, and I remember it vividly. It's my most vivid personal baseball memory. And they were going to make me lead off, and I'm like, this pitcher's going to kill me. I'm going to step in the bucket. I'm going to get hit. I'm going to get killed. I'm going to die. I don't know what to do, and I didn't really want to be on the team, but my parents put me on the team, and it's like, and thank God the guy showed up at the last minute. And then I said, that's it. I am done with baseball.
Hey, Bobby.
I am done playing.
The bad thing about this, it was a women's league because they were called the United Alcoholic Women's Team.
Alcoholic Women's. It might have been. I don't care because right now all I know is I had white pants on and I'm sure there was a brown spot on my butt. It's like, do not make me lead off hit for this because I am going to get obliterated here. This guy's fresh.
Well, Steve,
strong.
I have a question for you. Steve, I have a question for you.
What? Is there no stupid question you're going to ask me to embarrass me? Go ahead and ask it.
Steve, we're going to go into your baseball. At the time, you could have become a bit young. You were a quarterback, and we haven't talked about this, but you had a good arm.
Well, that's why he asked me to play baseball because I could throw hard. Yeah.
Exactly, and you're 6'8", right? You're 6'8", 6'9".
Yeah,
and so
I went to batting practice. You about killed a player.
Yeah,
so.
yeah. The bottom line is you were a pitcher. I mean, if I had gotten you at 12, 13 years old with your height and your arm, I'd have made you a pitcher. But see, the problem is you were too goddamn good of a basketball player.
Hey!
So,
did you just use the Lord's name in vain?
Gosh,
he used it. Mike, get on him like you get on me.
I'm about to just
Mike,
jump
down. I know he pays you money, Mike, but get on him.
You're both going to hell.
Oh, stop it, Steve.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Mike. I was passionate about that, and I used the wrong word. But you were too gosh darn good of a basketball player.
Oh, quit kissing his
It
ass.
takes a
He
long
was pretty
time to
good.
develop a
Quit kissing my ass,
Isaiah
Bobby. You
Thomas.
blew it. You already blew it.
Isaiah
You're
Thomas
dead meat
was
with
a
me,
great
Bobby.
basketball player.
Let's go on to the Sheridan
to
report. Are we done with baseball?
Yeah,
I
we
think
can
with
be
baseball,
done for
baseball's
now,
the one sport.
I think this. I think I want to talk some baseball this year, Darius. So it may not be last.
I do
last
too.
Year,
I think Sarah's good. Bobby, were you impressed with Sarah?
Hey, she's down there in spring training, and she's got a job to do, and we didn't really get into that part of it today.
Well, she only had
a
a half hour today, so
she had a half hour. I'll negotiate more
knowledge
time with
Bryce
her.
Harper. To me that's boring. I
I don't
learn
care about
really
Bryce
what she's
Harper.
all about.
I care.
Yeah, I want to learn what she's all about. And I think, but what I am impressed is that she gets on the air with three guys, and she holds her own, and you can tell this has been her blood, and she loves it, and she's doing what she wants to do. And so she's passionate and enthused, and that's what I was impressed with. I mean, if she has knowledge about a contract or whatever, but her point on Nolan Arenado was dead on. I mean, the organization.
Well, it's a good investment for the city.
It's a great investment, and he's a solid guy. And there are questions about Harper and Machado in that regard, and there are questions. Well,
I think Philly will eat Harper up if he doesn't perform. And Mike's spot on. He's not really been an overachieving performer.
He's not going to.
But it is going to be. I'm pretty sure it's going to be Philly.
And Philly's going to eat him alive.
Oh, there.
You guys know that the owner's there, right? You guys know the owner's in Vegas now, and they're talking. You know that, right?
You also know that the Dodgers talked to him a day or two ago too. So I still think if the Dodgers get close to the contract, he's going to want to go to L.A. I don't think he's necessarily going to the biggest.
I think LA's a better fit for him. I mean, just because of his personality.
I think they all suck.
I mean,
I agree with
he can bury himself out here a little bit better. I mean, being a mediocre numbers guy he is, not being that. What little I know about baseball, I think LA would be a much safer bet for him. And if he takes $10 million less over 10 years or $20 million less over 10 years, I think it's a safer move for him because the fans will eat up his celebrity out here in Philadelphia. They're gonna grill him if he doesn't perform.
Well, how about this, Bobby?
But
I look at him.
They're going to appreciate him in Philadelphia.
Yeah,
if he performs.
If he performs, they eat him up.
If he performs, but he's a hard. He's not a Machado is more of the Cadillac. Okay, Bryce Harper is a grinding out baseball player. He'll get his uniform dirty. He's not. Machado's more the guy who won't. And
but Bryce Harper is inconsistent.
He will.
Hey, Bobby, real quickly, resend me the report for today. I think I've deleted it accidentally. So just resend it real quick so you can talk about that while we're talking.
Good. What is your top play for today, Bobby?
Somebody send it to me so I can talk about it.
Night.
Hold on, I'm going to send it. Hold on, it'll just take me 10 seconds.
I'm sorry, I had it last night, and I think I've accidentally deleted it.
Why would you delete Bobby's
Mike,
stuff?
I got it. Everything.
I deleted everything.
And then it's my fault. And
I know.
I try to say the right thing regarding.
He deleted it, and it's your fault, Bobby.
No, it's not his fault. It's my fault.
You know what you need to do, Bobby? You need to put a picture of a half-naked Kardashian in every one of the Sheridan reports, and
I'll
you'll never
delete nothing
that.
with a half-naked picture of a Kardashian. There you go. Rockets -4.
Right,
okay.
Steve,
But I'll tell you, I'm looking forward to. I hope that we all get to go to a Dodgers game together, or come out and maybe when Bobby, find out when the Dodgers play the Reds. How cool would that be? We'll bring Mike out for that.
That'd be really cool, but if the Apollos make the championship game, Mike being a football guy, I think that would be the time to bring him out.
Well, sure, we'll do that. That's easy drive for you and me. That's 3 hours, 4 hours for us.
I'd rather watch.
You'll take your private jet and send out and get Mike and fly back out here.
I'd rather watch the Dodgers and the Reds, actually.
Reds, but you got to find a Dodgers Reds game. We'll come out. We'll do a
I don't know.
Dodgers Reds game.
All right,
that would be a dream for me, for all three of us to go to a Dodgers Reds game.
Yeah, that would be.
Well, let's make
that would be on top of my freaking bucket list too, Bobby. What's your top play for tonight?
All right, guys. Well, real excited about yesterday.
Bobby, talk about your night last night. Talk about your night last night. You had a big night last night.
Him.
Let's forget about today.
Well,
Talk about last night, Bobby. You hit the trifecta.
what do you mean?
The
parlay?
You
He
scored
had a lot.
You
Did
scored
miss,
big, didn't you?
Did
The
you
parlay?
miss anything
Did you
last
score big?
night?
Well, guys, when I put out my report, I give the selections as we know. We've been talking about this for a while, but I don't tell people how to play it. And this is a whole nother segment that we could do on sports betting. That when you have 3 or 4 games you like, or 5 or 2 or whatever. Now, how do you play it? Now, you could be simple and play just straight bets, maybe keep the same amount, or you could be simple and play straight bets and then vary your amounts. You could get aggressive and play parlays, which bring back odds. And
hey, Bobby,
things.
Bobby,
and,
you know what this sounds like?
Yeah.
This sounds like a show that you and Mike should do on Friday nights.
We are doing it. So.
And you should have Bookie.Inc. Sponsor you. Great organizations they are.
MyBookie.ag, which has nothing to do with Pablo Escobar. Go ahead.
No, I apologize
You know what?
if you're listening to me, MyBookie.ag. That was a joke based on the Fry concert, the fire concert that was going on out there when they tried to rent his island. So I made a general stupid statement. I apologize to you. Please, if you're listening, send Mike a tweet and tell him we accept Risley's apology. Jesus Christ.
Hey, will you stop using the Lord's name in vain?
Jesus Christ is not the Lord's name in vain. I didn't
yes,
say.
It
I
is.
just said Jesus Christ.
It is. You said it in vain.
Like,
you
bless
said it
me
out
for
of
being wrong.
frustration. Anytime you use the Lord's name out of frustration, that's using the Lord's name in vain.
I wasn't frustrated. I was apologizing. Bobby, go ahead about last night. Talk about how you had a great night. This is how you sell yourself, Bobby.
Guys, listen. Not my style, my own personal things. Yet we're for the fans listening. We're talking about this because we kind of Mike and I and Steve we talked about a 3-team parlay yesterday, and we haven't really gone into that too much. And we shared all of us shared a parlay that hit last night, and we used the 2 NBA top plays, which was the Raptors and the Knicks, and we gave the Knicks out on the air, and the Raptors was the late edition, which we got information on, and we had that on the website. You could have purchased that, but of course Mike and Steve were privy to that, and we hooked those up with the Hoosiers, and the Hoosiers.
Yeah, we didn't bet. We didn't bet on it. I didn't bet on it. Mike, did you bet on it?
No, you guys. I made the bet. We all were kind of on that, and so and so I did that for us, and then I do my own thing, of course, every day, but the grueling truth was kind of part of that parlay last night. And it was kind of fun, I think, for everybody. We hit, when Indiana won that game finally, and in double overtime, it was nice. And so anyhow,
and Bobby, wait, I'll have to send you the chain of tweets between Mike and I.
Yeah,
in the
because
last
you know what
Steve
did?
Game.
Steve called me after the IU game, and he said, "You know what? We'll probably never hear from Bobby again."
I'll have to send you the tweets that Mike and I were sending back and forth as the IU game was winding down, cursing out Archie Miller, cursing out Romeo Langford.
Dude, that's every game we watched with IU. It had nothing to do with the bet.
Every play we watched, we were tweeting back and forth like, this is going to screw us. IU is going to screw us.
And the bad thing, Bobby,
victory.
I had to start the boxing show.
It was hilarious.
And I started the boxing show at the start of the first overtime. And I don't even know what the hell we talked about. Jeremiah talked about it, and then Jeremiah found out about the bet, and Jeremiah does not have cable TV. So then after the boxing show's over, I'm sitting here describing the last 30 seconds of the second overtime to Jeremiah.
Oh, man, that's good stuff. Well, hey, it's good. It's great when a plan comes together, guys. And the plan came together. We swept the card. We were 4-0. If you include Ohio State, and I also myself had that 4-teamer myself, and I got real aggressive through my personal account with the parlays last night, and because I loved that card. I thought we had a great shot to go 4-0, and I wanted to take advantage. Maybe twice a month I'll do that, and I'll really bet aggressively on the parlays. And personally, guys, and I don't talk about this, I'm very humble when it comes to this, and it feeds. You have to be, guys, because you move to the next day. It's a brand new day. It's a brand new day.
New game every day. Yeah.
So
it's a new game every day.
What's your top play for this new day?
Well, let him finish the story.
He wasn't. I thought.
Well,
he was
I was going to finish the story. Yeah, pretty much done. And so it was kind of fun when it all came together and last night, and it was fun because we all were on that, and then Indiana, that was supposed to be they got that thing to 13 at like the 15 or 14 minute mark, and that was supposed to be the double digit victory that I said it would be.
Yeah, and Goodpaster's out looking at new homes and writing a mortgage agreement up on a new home when they're up by 13. So.
I'm so far in debt. Nobody's ever given me a loan.
I was at the Ford dealership trying to get an F-150, so we're all thinking, okay, this is going to work out good for us.
Yeah, and so it was one of those games that. It got away. The 13-point thing was gone before you knew it, and then we had to scratch and claw, and it shouldn't have been like that, but it was, and we still held on, even though, it was scary there at the end, but, I didn't want to go to either one of those overtimes, and I'm really proud of your Hoosiers, the defense they played and the way they hung in there, and that's a really nice win for them. And
they're not. They lucked into the win. They lucked into that win.
Maybe they can pick up a coach now.
Yeah. They lucked into that win. That was nothing to be proud of.
You know what?
They got a W.
Bruiser Flint's the coach that saved their ass last night.
He is. Bruiser Flint finally got animated and got pissed off. That's the first time I've seen any coach go after somebody or do anything. I'm proud of Bruiser now. Well, I'm in his camp.
But I think they're all on the same page right now. I think that whole staff is on the same page.
Oh, they're not.
And I think
they're going to get their asses handed to them Saturday by Michigan State. Are you kidding me, Bobby? Jesus.
You guys don't
I said
want
permanently, Mike. I didn't say Jesus.
Hey, Steve.
The other word. I said
Steve,
Jesus.
Be positive.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Bobby.
I am. Go.
Okay. All right, let's move away from the Hoosiers. Anyways, good job on that, guys, and I'm glad that the plan came together. But all right, so now today's a new day. So I talk all the time with my son. I talk all the time with my customers, with my friends, with my whoever about sports betting, and oftentimes it's the next day. You move on. You never get too emotionally involved because the next day is a new day, and I can promise you and anybody that gets involved with me. There's nobody better than myself at just next day. The day before, was a bad day, but hey, next day. And, you just focus in, you there's no tilt, there's no emotion. It's just making money and getting on the right side and having these things come through at a good percentage, and you just grind out money. But yesterday we had a big splash because of how we bet it. We got aggressive with the parlays, but all right, let's go into today. And there's 5 games today, and I do like this card a lot. There's two NCAA games, and we already gave out Maryland on the website and on the Twitter, or not Twitter yet because I haven't tweeted it, but I will. Maryland minus 1.5 over Penn State. That's a free play, which is about 70% over the last, I don't know, good stretch of time, 4, 5, 6, 7 weeks. I don't know. That thing's hitting, it seems like 4 and 5 times a week. And so I'm glad about that. So the game you'll see it, that's Maryland minus 1.5 over Penn State. And so that's a free play. And then we've got one other college game. We have a selection in the Marquette-Villanova game. That line opened at 3.5 Villanova. It's up to 5 as we speak. And we're on one of those sides. And then in the NBA, we've got three games in the NBA, and 2 are top plays. And one of them that I want to talk a little bit about, and I'll give that out right now to the listeners, is the Rockets. The Rockets are minus 4 over the Hornets tonight, over Charlotte. And now we're getting into that point of the season, and we've already alluded to this, where the standings are very important. We're down into the 26, 25 games left range, guys, 24 games, and the Rockets still have a lot of work to do because they're sitting in the 5 spot right now. And as I pull this up right in front of me, I had it ready to go. They're in the 5 spot, and they're 2 games in the loss column behind Portland, and they're 3 games behind Oklahoma City, who's in the 3 spot. So why is that important? Well, you want home court advantage in the first round, so you want to get in the top 4. And Houston's a team now that's healthy. And they're Paul and now Harden are both healthy, and they're playing together, and Chris Paul is really, really ready to go. If you watch him play the last week, has been really outstanding, and their defense is really playing a lot better. And they bring in Kenneth Faried, who he has really solidified their front court. Now Capella's off the injured list; he's playing. So this team is bringing themselves together right now to make a run at Golden State. This is the team that, if you talk to the experts, all feel have a shot to beat Golden State.
They'd have beat them last year if Chris Paul would have played in Game 7.
Well, there you go, Mike, and I think you may be right. And so the bottom line is Houston's got to get into that 4 spot so they can host the first round, and then they'll wind up playing Golden State in the semis of the Western Conference. It wouldn't be the finals because they'd be the 4 seed, but that's okay. We'll get the finals matchup a little early, and then we'll go from there. But so games like this, when you go on the East Coast swing and you go play Charlotte, a team that you should beat, you tend to get these wins because there can't be any letdown. They've got their foot down now. They're putting their best foot forward, and the Lakers were lucky to beat them, last week when we had the Lakers, and they were very lucky to beat them. And then you saw the next game, Houston went down to Golden State and taught those guys a lesson. And now this tonight in Charlotte, I think they're going to get a fairly easy win on the road. I think they'll have a double-digit lead in the 4th, and their defense is really, really playing well. Chris Paul is defending the point very well, and who's Charlotte's best player? Kemba Walker, and I think Paul will neutralize him, and I think that Capella and Fareed will do a good job on Charlotte's front court. So, that's one of our 2 top plays tonight in the NBA. So we're going to give the Grilling Truth listeners the Rockets at -4, and that'll be the top play for the Sheridan Report.
All right, real quick, I want to bring up for you and Steve both. The LA Lakers are 3 games out of the 8th spot, and now the Timberwolves have jumped up in front of them also. I just wanted to bring that up.
Unbelievable, Mike.
Because y'all were super happy after you beat Houston, and basically telling me and who was it that agreed with me on that show? I don't even remember. But, you gave me a lot of shit for that. And since then,
we did.
They've just lost, as I predicted. They're not going to make the playoffs, and LeBron James is over the hill. And they're never going to win anything with LeBron James. Not even a Kardashian.
But you got to remember, Magic's plan was a 3-year plan. This is just year 1.
And remember this, LeBron will be 37 years old at the end of that 3-year plan.
Well, okay, we'll see how this plays out. But I would bet you a nickel that they're going to be in the finals by the end of that 3-year plan.
There it is. We'll bet a nickel. And what I would like to say is, you could go ahead and send that nickel to me right now because it's not going to happen. What has Magic Johnson done as a GM to make anybody think that he could pull this off?
Well, Magic's a winner, Mike, and he is.
So is Michael Jordan. And how are the Hornets doing?
Well, good point, and we're betting against it tonight, so I hope not good. But Magic got back into this thing, and he landed LeBron, and that's only piece 1. And him and LeBron are going to go out and land number 2, and we'll see who that is this summer. And if New Orleans wasn't stupid, they'd already have Davis. So they threw a big crimp in the whole plans of the Lakers and the NBA. NBA's pissed off about that one, I can guarantee you.
I don't think Davis is going to end up in L.A. either. I think he could end up in New York.
Well, he could. There's a lot of different scenarios that think that Durant with Zion in New York and Kyrie. That was the.
And I think this. I still think he's more likely to go with Jerry West than the Clippers.
Well, the Clippers are going to land one of those. They're going to land somebody because they got a big contract to give somebody in a new arena that they're trying to get.
And my point in all this is this: we know Jerry West knows what the hell he's doing, and Jerry West is in L.A. As long as Jerry West is in L.A., Magic Johnson's not going to be able to get one over on him.
Yeah, but Steve will tell you this, and he's been alluding to this. He lives here now. The Clippers are just a pimple on their ass.
Well,
right or wrong.
I hate to tell you this. They may just be a pimple on the ass, but it's been a while since the Lakers were relevant.
Well, I know, and that's supposed to change with LeBron, and
Yeah, and
Who
IU
would
was
go?
supposed to become relevant again with Romeo. That hasn't worked out either because the administration at the school and the team sucks. And usually, when you're rotting from the head, the body just dies.
Well, good points, Mike. There's no doubt about that.
No, that was a beautiful
Hey, Mike,
analogy. But
it was. Mike, can we go to On This Day?
yes, sir.
Do we have time? Okay,
Yeah.
good. There's an On This Day, 1982 is the one I wanted to bring up. I had two on there, and we can talk about both. But the one I wanted to talk about was 1982, and it involves Dan Issel. Dan Issel, I can see him in my mind right now, what he looked like, and he played with the Nuggets. And on this day, he hit his 63rd consecutive free throw. And this was a 6'10" center who could shoot the lights out, 63 straight free throws. And I just wanted to know yours and Steve's thoughts on Dan Issel. I know later on he became a horse owner, and he was really involved in the horse racing industry. And, what are your thoughts on Dan Issel? Do you have any?
Steve, do you have any?
No, go ahead. You start. Dan Issel was shorter than me, and I'm 6'8". I stood next to Dan Issel. He wasn't 6'10".
Oh, wow. Okay, good. Well, he played center.
But that's all right. Go ahead, Mike.
All right. My thoughts of Dan Issel
Great player.
would be he was best friends with Kenny Anderson. Did you know that? They both grew up in, I think, Illinois. I think it was Batavia. But I know he was drafted in 70. He played for Adolph Rupp in Kentucky. He was a stud at Kentucky. I think he averaged like 34 points a game his senior season. I know it was low to mid 30s. I think he started off with the Kentucky Colonels, which was probably
that's what he made his fame.
Yeah, that was the second best team behind the Indiana Pacers because I think the Pacers beat the Colonels
in the ABA.
Yeah,
right.
The Pacers beat the Colonels 2 out of 3. I still
Colonels
think
beat the Pacers. Yeah,
I think
they battled back and forth.
Yeah, I think the 73 Pacers could have beat the 73 Knicks, who won the NBA championship. That was a great Pacers team. The Colonels were a great team. I think wasn't Artis Gilmore the center on that team, Steve?
Yes, he was. Yeah.
And
No,
then-
the Colonels were a great. That was the travesty that the Colonels didn't get into the NBA. I just think they were so financially distraught. But that's the team that you look back and say,
Who owned
wow,
that team? Was it Jerry Brown, the old governor?
Yeah, I think it was, Mike. Didn't he have ties to Kentucky Fried Chicken at that point in time?
I just know he had ties to Phyllis George, who was fairly hot.
Yeah, Phyllis George was his wife. Yeah, I know that. Yeah, when she was doing CBS, broadcasting. But I think I thought he had ties to Kentucky Fried Chicken before Yum Brands bought him out. I could be wrong on that. Please don't quote me on that. I'm guessing, but yeah, Dan Issel is a tremendously great player, and just a real stalwart player for the ABA. And the battle was always between the Colonels and the Pacers.
Well, with the occasional Nets thrown in with Dr. J or the
Virginia and he was a Kentucky guy too. He played at Kentucky, he played UK, so there was a rivalry there that manifested itself between.
Well, see, and why he didn't play in the NBA, Steve. He was drafted by the Detroit Pistons, which Detroit was a cesspool of the NBA in 1970.
Was that what it was?
I think it was right around the first year they were there, and he went to Kentucky, and then he went. I think he got traded in '75. I don't think he was on the Nuggets team. I don't remember if he was on the Colonels team that beat Indiana in 5 games in the ABA Finals in '75 or not. But I know he went to the Nuggets.
Yeah, he was.
Was he? Okay. So he was traded after 75 then, and he went to the Denver Nuggets. And then 1976, the Nuggets lost. I think they lost. They either lost or they beat. Because I know they played the last ABA Finals. I think they lost to Dr. J and the New York Nets. I think it was like a 6-game series. The interesting thing there is that NBA Finals was actually shown by HBO TV. And that was, the other great player on that team, and I'm sure you remember David Thompson.
Louis Dampier.
David Thompson was a
stud.
Oh,
okay, David Thompson.
Yeah, on the Nuggets,
right.
yeah. And then the Nuggets got absolved with the Pacers and the Nets and a couple other teams in 1976. So he went on to play another, I think, 8 or 9, 10 years. I think he retired in the late 80s. And I am pretty sure that he retired to a horse farm. And then Bernie Bickerstaff, who'd done a really good job coaching the Seattle Supersonics. I need Wikipedia right now. But who did a really good job coaching the Supersonics, actually got Issel to come back. And I think Issel was the head coach from like 92 to 94 for him. But Dan Issel was a great player, very underrated, did a decent job as the coach. He was good. I mean, a guy that's averaging 34 a game in college, you know, he can play, especially at the University of Kentucky. He was a great shooter, very good defender, and from what I remember of him, he was a hard-nosed guy.
Yeah, Mike, I'm reading too on I'm on probably the same site you're on, but you cumulative
I'm not on a site. That's why I keep saying,
points.
Let's see.
Okay, 27,000 points. Is he recognized on the NBA career scoring list? Is he recognized at all? I don't recall seeing his name because.
See, I don't know how many of those points. He was between 25 and 30,000, wasn't he?
Well, so over 27,000 points he scored. Okay. Combined. Only Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and Irving at the time of his retirement. Yeah. Now the guys have passed him. Combined.
Yeah.
But I don't know that he's recognized on the NBA scoring list. I don't know that I've ever seen his name thrown up there. And, you know, I mean, all I remember about Dan Issel was he had no two front teeth. He always played without his two front teeth.
Let's see. Dan Issel is the second all-time leading scorer behind Louis Dampier in ABA history. Mel Daniels is fourth. Julius Erving is number 5. In the NBA, you're going to have to go down pretty far to find him because that would put him – you said he had over 27,000, would put him in
27,000, so go down. Is he even on the list? I mean, do they even recognize those points? Did they
recognize those points in the NBA. No. They don't combine the ABA. We've got ABA leading scorers of all time, NBA leading scorers of all time, and he would fall in – let's see. I just got to find his name.
He's second all-time for the Nuggets.
Yeah, and he's second all-time for the ABA. He's in the top 150 NBA.
For the NBA?
Yeah, he's number 145.
Yeah, but the prime of his career was the ABA. Yeah. I forgot that Louis Dampier, who's a Southport, he's an Indianapolis kid.
Did
Louis Dampier played basketball.
Louis never played in the NBA, did he?
I don't know that Louis did. I don't think he did. I don't know that he did, if he retired before then or not.
He did. He played in the NBA for San Antonio, 76 through 79, averaged not that many points a game. Yeah, it looked like he averaged like 5 or 6 points a game. Averaged 16 for his career, though. And in the ABA, he averaged 21, 22 points a game because he's the leading scorer in ABA history. And when you look at the talent the ABA had back then, that's a pretty big achievement.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and that's another show, Mike. That's another show we need to do.
I can do an ABA.
The ABA kind of forced the NBA to merge with them because at that point in time, the ABA had adopted the 3-point shot, and they had a more up-tempo style of game, and they kind of forced the NBA because the NBA was kind of struggling a little bit at that point in time in the mid-'70s when they came in. They were post the Knicks era. Chamberlain was declining in his skill sets. The Lakers hadn't really started to become the Lakers. Celtics weren't. They had fallen off a little bit. And the ABA was really, they had Irving, they had Rick Barry, they had Issel, they had Zelmo Beatty. They had McGinnis. I mean, think of all the great players that ended up going to the NBA for different teams that were in the ABA at that point in time. And that's kind of a great show to do. And I could get Nedelicki. I'm friends with Bob Nedelicki. I could get him on one time just to do a show and talk about that rivalry between the ABA and NBA. That would be a fun show to do.
Yeah, because they only absorbed 4 teams, so it wasn't like it was the AFL, NFL version. I think it was San Antonio, Denver, Indiana, and New York. And I think the reason it was just those
the Nets.
4,
they took the Nets. They were the New Jersey Nets. That's where Irving played.
No, they were the New York Nets. They became the New Jersey
Nets. They were the New York Nets?
Yeah.
Okay. They became the New Jersey, yeah. And Irving played there.
Yeah.
No, he played for the Virginia Squires, didn't he?
And that was before he played for the Nets.
Nets, okay, yeah. Yeah, I remember I would go, we would ride our bike. I mean, I lived about 4 or 5 miles from the Coliseum. in Indianapolis, the fairgrounds where the Pacers played, and I would ride my bike, and you could pay $1 for standing room only tickets. They'd actually sell standing room only tickets at that point in time, and I would get there early enough. I'd ride my bike over, and this is when it was safe to ride your bike at 11 o'clock at night and not worry about what was going to happen to you. And you could be a ball boy. If you got there soon enough, the first guy there could be the ball boy. They didn't have official ball boys, so I would get there like at 5 o'clock for a 7:30 game or something like that, and just show up and stand under the bucket. And Neto and Mel and those guys and Raja and guys, you got to know these guys. I mean, because they were cool guys. The ABA was really cool, and they would come in. And they either send you down to the other end to be ball boy for the opponents, or you could, if you weren't first, or you could be a ball boy for the Pacers. But that was so cool in my life growing up, was getting to do that and meet these guys. And then Metallicky had a bar in the shopping center. It was pretty much adjacent to where we lived in Indianapolis when I was growing up. And we'd always go and sit there, and we'd stand outside and we'd collect autographs like crazy, because all the Pacers and all the opponents would come in to Neto's bar, which is at the Meadows Shopping Center. And you can research all this and look it all up. But he had a bar, and all the players would come in. And you sit out there with a ball and just get all your players to sign it. You get these $1.99 Marathon Oil basketballs that Marathon Oil would sell. When you fill up a tank, you can buy a rubber red, white, and blue basketball for $1.99. And the first time you bounced them and hit them into a fence, they'd pop. But you would take them in and get all the players to sign them. And, of course, there was no eBay, so you didn't try and sell them. You just collected them. And the ABA, again, like baseball, was very romantic. It was a very fan-friendly, romantic time in basketball, and probably one of the greatest transitions or eras of professional basketball that I can remember, that I ever was a part of.
Well, see, the thing that forced the merger was this. The ABA had charged the NBA with restraint of trade in violation of antitrust laws, and the judge suggested the two leagues talk before the case was to be brought to trial. It was expected to be dismissed anyways, but they made the deal to take 4 teams, and then the New York Nets had to pay a fine of $6 million because they played at the same time or same city that the New York Knicks played. So, all right. So
but the teams that got folded, like the St. Louis Spirits, the Utah Stars, those teams got well compensated by the NBA too. I mean,
no, they didn't.
The owners.
They didn't. They basically just
they
had
didn't
to go. No, the ABA ran up a bill in their 8 years of existence of like $40 million. So the NBA actually, from what I just read, made teams pay, because what they did is they had a dispersal draft in 1977 for all the players that were on ABA teams, the 2 teams that weren't there. With the dispersal draft, players that had contracts into 1977, the NBA still forced, if they weren't picked in the dispersal draft and weren't playing anywhere, they forced the ABA owners to still honor those contracts for the players that were still under contract. So this is not something, I mean, the ABA was going to go away no matter what. The NBA just went in and handpicked the 4 franchises they wanted, and then the rest of it died.
The 4 markets they wanted.
Yeah.
Which is probably why the Colonels didn't make it. Because, I mean, I thought the Colonels were a viable franchise. I thought so.
They were a viable franchise, but the one thing I do know is this. The reason you don't see sports teams in Kentucky is the workman's comp laws. And I've coached a couple teams in Kentucky, and you're talking into millions of dollars just to do an arena football team of 20 players for 10 games. So I can imagine what the cost is for a league like the NBA. And you got to remember, the NBA was not, I don't think, completely solvent in the mid-'70s anyways. And really, they didn't become a major player on the sports scene until Magic and Bird. I mean, the 79 NCAA championship game saved the NBA, because I remember even in 81 when Bird's in the finals against the Rockets, or 82 when the Lakers were playing the Sixers, those games were on tape delay. I mean, I'd have to not pay attention to anything from 8 o'clock on and then watch the game on CBS Sports at 11:30 at night. There wasn't a completely live NBA Finals again until 1983 when the Sixers and Dr. J, Moses Malone, swept the Lakers in 4 games. And then, once again, it goes through the roof in 1984 because Magic and Bird played in the finals. 85, Magic and Bird played in the finals. And then by then you've got the Jordans,
ABC
the Isaiahs,
comes on board.
And so
ABC and ESPN come on board, and then all hell breaks loose for the NBA.
Well, it was
puts them on the map.
It was CBS until 1991. 1990 was the last finals that CBS did, and in 91 the Bulls and Lakers I think was the first finals NBC did. So
ABC. Was it NBC or ABC?
It was NBC. Got it in 91. It's
NBC?
now ABC.
Okay.
I don't know when that switched because I stopped giving a damn by 2000. But
right.
But I remember.
Well, I think it's when ESPN. It's when ESPN came into play because ABC owns ESPN, which Disney owns ABC.
Yeah, but I don't think that came into play until the last 10 years because I know the NBA was on NBC because Marv Albert was doing the games with Mike Fratello, and then you had. Let's see, who was it? Ahmad Rashad did like the NBA Jam show because he was best friends with Michael Jordan. Yeah, but all right,
we
guys.
all kept trying to find pictures of Marv Albert in women's clothing.
Yeah, and you did. I didn't really want to see it, but maybe you did. All right, real quick, I want to remind everybody, check out Bobby Sheridan at Sheridan Report on Grueling Truth. And the SheridanReport.com on the internet. Follow Steve Risley at SRisley34. You can follow me at Grueling Truth. This evening at 8 o'clock Eastern Time, we will have a happy Indiana basketball show, as we will do Indiana Basketball Weekly with myself, Steve Risley, Colin Hartman, and Cole Hanna, our Indiana basketball beat writer. So make sure you check us out at 8 o'clock live there. It'll be in podcast form by 9 o'clock. And tonight, we will have Inside Boxing Daily with me and Jeremiah Pricer tonight at 11 o'clock. Tomorrow, we will talk a little NFL football. I know we don't do that much right now, but there's not that much going on. We will preview the Combine with Anthony Servino. We'll also look at possible landing spots for Antonio Brown. We'll look at John Ross, the possible trade, and overall the wide receiver position in the NFL. We will be doing that with our guest, Anthony Servino, from the FF Faceoff, which you can catch on thegruelingtruth.net. There was another episode posted today. You can also find him on YouTube, but find him on thegruelingtruth.net because it doesn't really help us when you watch him on YouTube. And also, I just want to thank Steve Risley for being a great guy.
I want to thank Steve Risley for that ABA stuff, all that old basketball stuff.
I knew more about the ABA stuff than he did. He just had the little story about being a kid riding his bike to the game. Jeez.
Yeah, I just appreciate it. Listen, guys, that's the talk that you had the last 10 minutes. That's what I love about the Surviving Advance show. And anybody that hears that, that's just off the cuff. Don't even know we're going to talk about ABA. We'll wind up having the best 10 minutes was the last 10 minutes. Yeah, and I love that.
And
guys, I love
the thing.
Great job.
I can vouch for Steve. We've never had a pre-production meeting ever.
at some point, we will put up a NASCAR show tonight with Bobby and Alex Gray and myself, and we will recap whatever penalties were handed down post-Atlanta and what the prognosis is for Las Vegas. It won't necessarily be a long show, but we're going to continue to stay on track with NASCAR and try and make this thing work.
Yeah, and it's working because I can tell you this, and we want to thank everybody that listened. I mean, you got a couple thousand listens on Sunday's show.
Well, that's all because of
Steve,
Bobby.
I've already got the winner. Steve, I've already got the winner of Las Vegas.
Well, that's good. So don't announce it now. Save it for our show tonight.
I won't.
Save it for our show tonight so we got something relevant to talk
about.
Well,
all I know is this.
Oh, yeah.
Steve Risley better have the winner for the next race because Alex picked the last
one.
Not. Bobby picked the first one. So, Steve, you're up. All right, guys.
I'm picking Chase Elliott again, so I'm going to lose. So he'll win eventually. I'll get it right before the season's over.
We're going to wrap the show up. I want to thank everybody for listening. Go to iTunes, rate us, give us a thumbs up, give us some comments. If you have any comments for the show, just tweet them to us, send them to us in a private message, and we'll answer them. All right, You can hear all of our shows on YouTube, Spotify, iHeartRadio, iTunes, Spreaker, Stitcher. Any place you find sports podcast, you'll find The Grueling Truth. So for Sarah Uhran, Bobby Sheridan, Steve Risley, Dan, I'm Mike Goodpaster, Dan, and you have been listening to The Grueling Truth, where the legends speak.